Welcome to another episode of Finance for Founders. Today's guest built a business that supported over 75,000 customers, employed more than 400 people, and generated 80 million euros in turnover. Mark Dwyer is the founder behind Big Red Books and Big Red Cloud, a pioneer in bringing cloud accounting to small businesses long before it was mainstream. For over 33 years, Mark led from the front, bootstrapping, acquiring, selling, and scaling across multiple ventures. But this isn't just a story about business growth, it's about legacy. Mark recently stepped away from his company after 3 decades at the helm. In that time, he has been the founder, a leader, a father of 4 daughters, and a 9-time Ironman athlete, including the World Championship in Kona, Hawaii. In this conversation, we're going to dive deep into what it really takes to build something that lasts, how to navigate the mental and emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship, and what comes after you hang up your founder's hat. This is one of those rare episodes where experience meets reflection and numbers meets heart. Here's my conversation with Mark Dwyer. Once more, Mark, I want to welcome you to our podcast. How are you doing?
Hey, Samuel, thank you so much for having me on. And that's actually made the hairs on my neck stand up myself when you've read out that. So thank you very much for that introduction.
Fantastic. You seem to be freezing a little bit on your end.
Am I? Okay. I don't know why that is because I should
Yes, just a little.
good Wi-Fi. It's not being recording video, is it not?
Yeah, don't worry, because what would happen is when we finish with this, we would get to, your recording would catch up to ours anyway.
But it's not. You're not doing the video. It's just the audio, is it? Are you hearing that? It's not. It's not audio. It's not video, is it?
Yeah, it's both. It's both video and audio.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I can't.
Excellent. I think it's slightly better.
Well, hopefully it is. There's
Excellent.
nobody else on my Wi-Fi here.
Fantastic. Let me just make sure that it's not on my end. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, quick fire questions. Mark, what we tend to do is find out a little bit more about our audience. We'll just ask you just 1 or 2 quick fire questions, if that's okay for you. Yeah?
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
Okay. So, tea or coffee?
Hot chocolate.
Emails or phone calls?
Phone calls.
Fantastic. Ironman or triathlon?
Ironman.
Cloud or desktop software?
Cloud.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Do you prefer office work or remote work?
Office work.
Favorite business tool?
Phone.
Film, did you say?
Phone. Telephone.
Go ahead, Mark.
Telephone.
Phone. Fantastic. One word to describe entrepreneurship.
Resilience.
I love that. Founder life, exciting or exhausting?
Exciting.
Do you prefer to plan it or wing it?
Wing it.
Golf or paddle?
Paddle.
Cash or equity?
Cash.
Scale or sale?
Oh, that's a tough one now. Both.
Fantastic, Mark. So, Mark, that is what we do to our audience, to our guests, so that our audience get to know a little bit more about you. Before we kick into things, tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your business.
So I come from Ireland. I was born in Dublin. I went to a rugby playing school, very sports orientated from the very start. I had a really good accounting teacher and a business teacher, which set me up then for when I went into business. I would call myself an accidental entrepreneur. My parents did want me in the bank at first, so I did join Allied Irish Bank and realized very quickly it was too boring for me. And then I got a job in sales and marketing and really found my niche in sales. And then when I got poached to Panasonic to be product manager of their laptop and printer division, I realized it was suppressing my personality, and I needed to get into business on my own. And that's the point at which the tipping point that I needed to set up my own business. And because I had a knowledge of accounting software and obviously sales and marketing experience, I decided to get into the accounting software space.
Fantastic. So you built and led Big Red for 33 years. Why? What was your why? And why did you first start it?
So I started off in business offering everything from a fax machine to a photocopier to supplies. And then I got the agency for an Irish accounting product called Take Five. And within 2 years, we became the biggest partner for that company in Ireland. And I opened up an office in the UK. And I just realized that there had to be an easier way for businesses to track their accounts. Because 9 times out of 10, a business owner is not a bookkeeper and they're not an accountant. And so they need an easy solution. And I got introduced to the owners of Big Red Book, which was a very simple and easy to use solution. And I found out they were losing money. They had 3,500 customers and they had to repay a government backed loan within 12 months. So I offered to buy them. So I bought the majority share in the business and I turned it around to be profitable within 6 weeks.
Wow. So if you don't mind me
Just letting the
asking,
dog in.
how
Sorry.
this was,
Sorry, just letting the dog in.
that's all right. What dog do you have?
A Maltese, mix between a Bichon and a Maltese.
Yes, I'm familiar with them. I have a Shih Tzu
Oh yeah,
and a
very
Yorkshire
good.
Terrier. I do
Very
like
good.
my
Oh,
dog.
nice. Very nice.
So you bought part of this company. This was very early on. How did you go about funding this? Did you get investors? Did you go to the bank? What did you do?
So I got introduced by the previous boss that I worked for, who had sold his business to Sage. So he came in for 17%, and I remortgaged a property I had to fund the acquisition. And the owners went from owning 100% to owning 26% of the combined group. So we negotiated a really, really good deal on the basis that they would get future earnings when I bought them out. And that's exactly what happened 2 years later. They got more for their 26% than they did for their 74%.
Wow.
So luckily, Samuel, I had a very understanding wife who allowed me remortgage a property I had. I've actually remortgaged 2 properties I've had, just either to do acquisitions or just to pay staff when times got hard. So thankfully, my wife backed me and understood that the outcome would be positive.
Wow. Wow. What made you so confident that this was going to work in your case? I mean, I'm thinking if many people took out money from a few properties they may have had, maybe they invest it in another property because it's safe, it's guaranteed income. What made you so sure that this was going to be a success?
Inbuilt confidence in my own ability, Samuel. Having looked at the business and realizing that there was flaws, it was like a chessboard and the pieces were out of sync, and I just needed to realign them. And despite the fact, with due respect, they were accountants, they didn't necessarily have a business brain. So I knew if I was able to fix a couple of small things, I'd be able to turn it to be profitable and then grow the business. And that's exactly what happened.
I love that. Acquisitions seems to be a big part of what you do or what you did. When you're acquiring a company, what are the first few things that you look out for? Like just now, you've just mentioned to me when purchasing Big Red, there was a few missing parts. Are there things specifically that you look out for when acquiring a business?
Yeah, I'm looking for a business that could operate in a much more efficient manner, that has issues, because I see issues as opportunities, that isn't being run correctly, that has a percentage of good people within the business and is in a similar industry, and you have access to another customer base to sell into.
Fantastic. What you can hear me, Mark? Can you hear me, Mark?
Yep.
Fantastic. What were What were the early days like where you acquired Big Red? What kept you going? What were the biggest challenges that you saw? What were the things that need to be dealt with immediately to ensure that it was a success?
So just bringing the staff on board and trying to explain how you operate, because it's completely different the way the other people operate. It was around the time of the introduction of the euro currency, Samuel. So we produced a piece of software that could convert everybody's suppliers, customers, and products from Irish pounds to euro. And the existing owners, so I was joint managing director with the existing owner. So the other managing director wanted to give it away free to customers. And I said, no, this is an opportunity for us to make some money. So to compromise, because in business, as in a partnership and a relationship with you and your partner, compromise is massive. So as a compromise, I said, well, why don't we give them a choice? And that choice was, you can go in and manually convert all your customers and suppliers and products to euro, or you can take this disc, which you will convert everything in 5 minutes. And we made €250,000 on that, because everybody went for the disc.
Wow, 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 wow. Have you always had an entrepreneurial spirit? Are there things that you did as a youngster, maybe a part-time business in school, at university? Is there anything that you did that made you know that you had this in you?
Yeah, I was always selling stuff, Samuel. So in school, fireworks are illegal in the Republic of Ireland. I used to bring them in. I used to do a trip to France every year, and I had this old nanny. She was in a wheelchair, and I used to be able to put the fireworks in her bag. And back in those days, the airport security didn't check her bag because she was on the wheelchair. And I used to stock my locker in school with fireworks, and I used to sell them. And the only single rule, Samuel, was they could not light the fireworks in school. Nine times out of 10, there's always one idiot that will light them. And part of our school was made up of obviously concrete buildings, but also prefabricated buildings. And there was a prefabricated corridor linking the two. And one idiot lights a firework. It was a quarter stick of dynamite, throws it out the window. And this is a long time ago, Samuel. So this is when the IRA were active in Ireland, in Southern Ireland. And this went off like an explosion. And it just so happened that the principal of the school was walking up that prefabricated corridor at the same time as it went off. And oh, there was hell to pay. He came running into the classroom. This idiot automatically said, "Oh, I bought it off Mark Dwyer. He's selling them out of his locker." Luckily, I was very good at rugby, and the principal of the school was the main rugby coach. And I said, "Sir, do you think I'd sell fireworks out of my? I found a few at home, and I gave it to this guy. I did, I'm not selling them. Please check my locker and see." And because I was good at rugby, he chose not to check my locker, and I got away with it.
That's amazing. Uh, so that these are parts of the stories that make up the Mark that we know today.
Correct. Yeah.
Do you
But
know what I find fascinating, right, is that cloud accounting was early in 2010. In fact, I remember I was working at the time as an accounts assistant, and we were working on we switched from a software called Sun, and we moved to Sage, I believe. And cloud accounting was absolutely, in fact, I remember it so well because that was during the election, I think, where David Cameron made the referendum for us to leave the euro. And I remember it so well. And cloud accounting was not even in existence, right? What gave you the conviction to go all in with Big Red Cloud? I mean, I think it's phenomenal. Like it was just not there. So talk to us about the timing, the tech adoption, and your founder's instinct.
So, Samuel, I have to go back a little bit because back in 2003, after I'd bought Big Red Book and made it successful and bought a payroll product and stitched it into it, SAP approached us, become partners for their SAP Business One product. It was a brand new product they'd bought off an Israeli company and they were trying to drive it in the UK and Ireland. So they approached me because of my pedigree in the accounting and ERP space. So I took on the SAP product and we became, within 3 years, the biggest partner in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Then fast forward to 2008, just before the crash, my sales manager bought it off me. And I had this cash. I went to a seminar led by a very successful Irish-backed, government-backed organisation in Ireland called Enterprise Ireland. And it was on moving your product or service to the cloud. And it was given by one of the guys who had brought Salesforce into Ireland, who were obviously very, very early in cloud adoption. And they said if you ticked 50, 60, 70% of these items that we're going to tell you today, then your product or service is suitable to go to the cloud. And accounting ticked at least 70%. So I said, right, I now have a home for the money I've made from my SAP sale. And I threw it all on the roulette wheel on red. And I said, we're going to go all out and we're going to develop a cloud product, not knowing if it was going to be successful. But I just had a really good gut feeling that if we could make it successful, a recurring income model would sustain ups and downs in the business cycle. And luckily, it was the right decision.
Excellent. So I just got that. The system was a bit slow, so it was lagging behind, but I just got that. I was going to say, you've also led 400 plus employees. You've acquired and exited businesses. What's been the hardest leadership lesson you've learned?
Tough love, Samuel. If you have the person in the wrong position, you need to sit down and you need to have a conversation with them and be as brutally honest with them as possible for the benefit of the business. It's not easy, but it has to be done.
Wow. And so how did you foster loyalty in those 30 years that you were leading? How did you foster loyalty?
Yeah, that's a very easy answer. By giving people autonomy. I learned very early on in my career, Samuel, that if you can't do something, employ somebody who can do it and let them get on with the job. Don't become a control freak. Let them make the mistakes they need to. Mistakes can be fixed, but that creates a huge amount of loyalty from from employees when they know you believe in them and you'll back them with the decisions that they make.
I love that. As somebody now that's scaling a business, what would you say are the three? So they're scaling the business now from 100,000 a year, and they have a vision to take it to 10 million, 100 million in the next 10 years. What advice would you advise that individual?
Well, firstly, make sure that you are properly funded. Don't overstretch. Make sure that you have enough cash to achieve the goals. Set realistic goals. Employ the right people for the right jobs, and be confident in what you believe you can achieve.
I love that. In terms of acquiring a business, I was recently advised, or I had a conversation with somebody that actually did very well in business. And he actually said to me, he said, the easiest way to scale is through acquisitions. I want to get your pick on that.
I 100% agree with your colleague, and I've had both experiences, Samuel. In the early days of the original software I had, I tried to do it myself, and it didn't work. We employed actually an Irish sales guy in London, and after 6 months, he wasn't selling anything, and I went over to have the tough conversation with him, and he ended up not giving me back the keys to the office, not giving me the laptop back, and hiding the BMW 318 IS car that I had hired for him. And it took me 6 weeks and a private investigator to find the car. So in answer to your question, my most successful growth was with SAP, when I acquired other resellers in the UK. I think it was the PSG group were deciding to go with Pegasus as opposed to SAP. So I ended up buying 3 SAP resellers in the UK, and that helped us to get to be the biggest SAP partner in Europe, Middle East, and Africa by through acquisition.
Wow. Wow. You've got companies like Zero and QuickBooks, who, whether through greater funding or so, seem to have found they established themselves internationally. Zero originally, I think, is a New Zealand or Australian product. You've got Intuit from the States. I know they acquired, I think, QuickBooks, right? At the time for Big Cloud and Red Cloud, what was your strategy for trying to scale overseas?
So ease of use, customer loyalty, and customer support. A lot of those big companies have now done away with telephone support, Samuel. That's one of our biggest USPs, is to have somebody at the end of the phone that'll answer a question, no matter how silly it is. Because remember, these are business owners, they're not accountants and they're not bookkeepers. So they want to have the confidence to know that they can ring somebody that won't be laughing at them and will give them a very simple answer to the situation they're in at the moment, because they might be trying to get an invoice out. That invoice might be critical for them to get the cash in, to keep the business afloat, to pay the staff. So they need to know that they will be able to have an answer at the end of the phone very, very quickly. So that was one of that is the way we generated the growth of the business. We got 48% of recommendations from accountants in practice, because the accountants knew that if Samuel Ajala bought Big Red Cloud, first of all, they would get a half decent set of accounts at the end of the month, as opposed to a box of check stubs and invoices. If Samuel had any issues, he would ring Big Red Cloud, not the accountant, and they could charge Samuel the same fee, and they're making more margin, but they're getting a cleaner set of books.
Wow, wow. You've just highlighted just now a big margin, right? What role did financial discipline have in your success? When I say financial discipline, one of the things that I've realized with a lot of startups is it's all sales, sales, sales. It's all marketing, marketing, but they tend to take their eyes off the finance side of it, forecasting, clean books, so on and so forth. What part did that play, whether early on or later on? A lot of startups, I know that they scale, they take these things seriously the more they scale. By the time they start generating 2 million, 10 million, they tend to take these things more seriously. How crucial or how important was the financial discipline in the success of Big Red Cloud?
Massively important, Samuel. From the very start of my business career, I understood that cash was king, and you need to be on the figures. And businesses run aground because they don't know what they owe suppliers, they don't know what they have in the bank, they don't know what they owe the HMRC or the Irish Revenue, and so it's highly important to be on top of your figures from the get-go. And that's why I got into simple accounting software, to enable business owners to be in that position. We ourselves as a business, within 4 months of the month end, 4 days of the month end, we would have a full set of accounts with our KPIs. So what our customer acquisition was, what our retention rate was, what our lifetime value was, which was all key metrics for us to know if we are spending our money on marketing in the right areas to produce the right sales, to keep the growth going forward, and to ensure that we weren't losing out to these big names, as you've mentioned before, such as Sage, Xero, QuickBooks. Like, they have really deep pockets, and we needed to make sure we were down pat on our USPs, and that every pound we spent on our marketing was giving us a return. Very important. And we managed to have a 94% retention rate, which is way above industry standards. And that's because of the second to none customer support we gave those customers, the hand-holding and the ease of use. And also in latter years, Samuel, the automation we brought into the software to make it easier for the business owner. So sucking in the bank transactions, snap and send on the purchase invoices, all taking away errors and cutting down time for the business owner when they're doing the day-to-day accounts. So there's no excuse for a business owner not to be on top of their accounts, their cash flows, their forecasts, what they have in the bank in today's day when you have packages like Big Red Cloud out there.
I love that. I love that. What part or what challenges did you have in terms of competitors? How did you deal with competitors, people competing with you in the market? I know, if I'm correct, um, I think this company is based in Ireland, Bright Pay, and they've acquired quite a few companies. They've mainly gone through the route of acquisitions. I know that because they've really acquired quite a number of companies that were doing pretty well, especially even here in the UK. How did you manage to compete with companies like that?
Yeah, so Bright are owned by HG, Samuel, the big private equity firm. They started off life more on the payroll side of the business as opposed to the accounting side of the business. But more recently, they bought
Yeah,
another package called Relate. And Relate were incomplete records software for accountants and practice. So it wasn't the bookkeeping for small businesses. So we just concentrated and got really good at what we did in that space, which was bookkeeping and accounts for small businesses. We would linked with the likes of Caseware to give us a competing product against the Relate product, where the accounting firms could just suck the data out of Big Red Cloud and do the year-end final accounts. So really, it was concentrating on the customer support, because in a lot of cases, when you have large private equity companies buying up multiple companies, they lose sight of the customer support, and it's all about the revenues and getting a return on the money that they invested in that business in the first place. And so things fall aground, and that's where opportunities arise for businesses like Big Red Cloud, where you can come in and you can really, really show how customer centric and dedicated you are as a business.
I love that. I love that. Um, you've done 9 Ironmans. How does that level of discipline and endurance spill into running a business such as Big Red Cloud?
Okay, so Samuel, obviously you have to be fit to do an Ironman, but you also have to be fit to run a business. You need to be fit in your mind to make sure that you're going to make the right decisions as often as you can. I mean, we don't all make the right decisions. The decisions I've made that weren't correct. But having the discipline to get up and be at the swimming pool at 6 o'clock in the morning and have an hour or 2 hours training done before you actually get into your business day really gives you a focus in your business, to make sure that you make the right decisions. Obviously, in sport, you get setbacks. In business, you get setbacks. You have to be resilient. I mentioned that earlier on. You have to be able to go into the ring with Mike Tyson, get knocked over, and get back up again. It's really, really important. And, when I'm out for a 4 or 5 hour cycle, I come up with some of my best marketing ideas. It gives you time out of the business to think about the business, and with kind of a fresher set of eyes. And then you can come in and really try and implement some of those unique and different ideas that you have in the business. So I think they run hand in hand. Now, it doesn't have to be Ironman. You could be a squash player, tennis player. You could just be a walker. You could be a runner. But it's very important for you personally to get out of the business and have your me time to do what you want to make you feel good. And it helps you de-stress, Samuel. It's like a really, it's just, I can't explain how much, because you're obviously focused on training for so long. You've nothing else to think about. So the stress just goes by default.
Excellent. I love that. That is fantastic. I'm just, I'm just thinking, because you are a disciplined person, right? It takes a disciplined person to run that 9 times. In business, do you have any, as a man of discipline, have any non-negotiables? Something pet peeve, something you will not tolerate as a businessman, as somebody working with other people? Could be something like lateness, for example, as a man that is a stickler to discipline. Are there any pet peeves and things you don't like, and you have non-negotiable, so to say?
Yeah, I don't like people being late. It's disrespectful. There's no excuse for it. If you've got a planned date, there's no reason why you shouldn't be there. I don't like people lying. Trust is a huge thing. I'm obviously, I'm a
Trust.
salesperson,
Yeah,
so in a lot of cases, salespeople will be classed as spoofers, and you can't spoof a spoofer. So I can see through people if they're trying to give me incorrect information, and that doesn't wash with me at all. And just have respect for your fellow employees. They're doing their job to the best of their ability. If they make a mistake, just you know go easy on them and understand that you make mistakes too, and things can be fixed.
I love that. I love that. Um, just so Mark, that we've really managed to do this recording. Your The signaling is really, really bad. So if I speak over you, let me know, right? If I speak
Yep.
over you, let me know. Yeah?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. So, as a you can hear me, fantastic. So, as a businessman, I have this view that for anyone to be a real success, most successful people are quite ruthless people. They're quite assertive and they're quick to make decisions. But I think we're in a generation now where um, something like that would be described as toxic leadership, and it's more a case of cheering people on, even when maybe they're not competent to do their jobs, and so on and so forth. What is your style of leadership? What is your approach when it comes to leadership?
Okay, so I don't think I'm going to be a modern leader, Samuel. If that's the case, I am very quick to make decisions. I'm a very assertive person, but can I just caveat that by saying when the new owner took over the business, he said there's one thing seeing names of staff on a spreadsheet. There's another thing when you see the years of service behind them. So I had people for 25 years, 20 years, 18 years, 16 years, 14 years, 12 years. So I asked the question to your listeners, do you think those people would stay with somebody who is too assertive or too quick thinking and doesn't take their needs and wants into account? And I would suggest the answer is no, they wouldn't stay that long. But I don't think I'll change. I don't think I'll be all fluffy for the new generation. But I think people respect that because you're straight, you're honest, and they know where they stand.
I love that. I actually love that. And I think for me, when it comes to business, is the trust aspect. You mentioned it before, is so crucial. I have a tendency to be quite direct, quite assertive, and the reason why I tend to do that is so that there is no miscommunication. Everybody's fully aware of where we stand and what my expectations are, really. So hearing you say that, it feels so. It's a shame it seems somewhat unique to hear, but it's so refreshing to actually hear you say that. Excellent. Um, you've mentioned how important family is to you. We mentioned at the start of the show, and even before we got on, you have 4 daughters. Um, how did you balance being a father and a founder at the same time?
Time management, Samuel, is the answer to that. I got up early to do my training. I would have been back in time to have to bring them to school if required. I had enough time during the day as the business owner to go to their hockey matches or any musicals or functions that they would have had. And then generally home for dinner at 6:20 every evening, sit down with my family every evening, hear their day. Everybody had time to talk about their day. Then homework was done, and then they went to bed, and then I'd do some more training after that if required. So they really came first, and then I ate into my own personal time to do my own training, so it didn't affect my family.
That is so inspiring. I've got um, three of my own. Obviously, you're ahead of me, but just that time of not putting this family second place, but putting them first place is actually so inspiring. I think there was a time last year where I took the time to step back and really reprocess um, how I was operating. I think before then, I very much gave myself to the business because in my head, I'm thinking that I'm the provider of the home. I need to provide for the kids. And as long as I provide for the kids, I've done my job. But in actual fact, there's a lot more than that. And it's very, very refreshing to hear you say that. It really is. It's hard work. You do have to wake up earlier and go to bed later. Um, but it's all worth the while. I tell you that. Really, really enjoyed it. Um, from your perspective, after 33 years, now stepping away, for those of us that don't know, at the start of the show, I mentioned that Mark, after 33 years at the helm of Big Red Cloud, he's actually stepping away. My question to you, Mark, is how do you emotionally process the end of something so personal?
Samuel, it's very difficult. We had been to the altar with two other opportunities, and we got jilted by the bride once 2 weeks before the deal, and once a day and a half before the deal was to close. So on this occasion, I adopted my wife's attitude, which is don't plan anything until it's actually over and the money's in the bank. That only happened 2 weeks ago, Samuel. So I'm still processing it. It's a very surreal situation. When I chose to sell, I wrote down the number I wanted and the scenario I wanted. And that was that I didn't need to be in the business. It wasn't going to be an earn out, and they were going to keep my staff. And I ticked every one of those boxes. And I'm now pinching myself saying, oh my God, be careful what you wish for, because I'm actually in that situation now. So I own the office, Samuel. So they are not keeping the office. They have a 100% work from home office policy. So I get the keys back on the 7th of May. I have to decide where I'm going to
Oh, wow.
re-rent that, whether I'm going to sell it, or whether I'm going to convert it into residential apartments. So that'll be a project in itself. You very kindly asked me to be on a podcast. Another gentleman asked me to be on a podcast. I'm speaking at a Plan Your Exit event on the 1st of May. And so there's a few opportunities coming in. I had hoped secretly in my own mind, Samuel, that if I put the post up on LinkedIn, a couple of opportunities might come my way. And I was hoping my ego wouldn't be flattened if that didn't happen. So the post I put up so far has had 99,500 views. I'm absolutely blown away. I just can't believe it. So there are opportunities coming up, and
Wow.
I think there's a little bit more life left in this old dog. So watch this space, is what I'd say, Sam.
Don't worry. To be honest, after this as well, I'm gonna give you all the content so you can repost yourself. I will be reposting it as well, so that people actually get to not just yes, give you opportunities, but actually learn from your journey in business. I really believe it's been really inspiring. Do you not plan to travel? Any pastimes you're gonna take up? Golfing?
Yeah, so I took golf up last year, so I'm going to try and get the handicap down because my wife's handicap is better than mine. So I'm going to try and attempt to beat hers. I have decided to do a half Ironman in Vichy in France in August. My soon-to-be son-in-law is doing that with his brother, so I said I'd go and try and beat the two of them. My daughter and her boyfriend are going to Japan, and I'm crashing their holiday, so I'm going to Japan as well. I'm then going to France to play paddle. We're as a family, we're all going away together to Mallorca, and so there'll be 9 or 10 of us, the boyfriends, the husbands. I'm a grandfather now, Samuel, which is a really exciting thing. A little girl, Mia, another girl to add to my 4 daughters already. So I'm looking. So I have 4 holidays booked. So yes, I am going to travel.
That is fantastic. Congratulations. Congratulations. Um, do you know, I remember this is just on a personal note. I remember I love how you're integrating with your daughters, your grandkids, your daughter's husbands. I remember when I was in school in London, I one of my best friends was an Irish lad, and I believe they're from Donegal, if I'm correct, right? And one
Yeah.
of the things I noticed, even going there, was just how much value they placed on family, and I think it's refreshing. Um, Everything centered around their home. Most nights, almost every night, um, everyone had to come home, sit down for dinner, spend time with the family. I really like that. And so, just hearing it from you and just hearing your story again, it just resonates with that upbringing of mine. Appreciate that. Also, what I was gonna say to you is, now that you've retired, what legacy do you hope to have left behind for your team, your customers, and even your industry?
Well, I know I've already left a legacy for my customers because our software is business critical and has helped them on a daily basis to stay profitable, keep focused, and be on top of their figures. So I know I've left that legacy. The Big Red Cloud has left a very strong legacy in the Irish market. Particularly, it's a very well-known brand. It's anywhere I go, people either have used it, or their parents have used it, or their brother or their sister have used it. And to me, that just is it's a reward to me for the hard work and the hours and the grunt and the I won't say sleepless nights because I'm one of those unusual people that the more pressure I'm under, I sleep sounder. So it's a bit weird. Um, but all the challenges over the years, it's just fantastic to know that I've helped so many businesses stay in business by having business critical software that was simple to use. And I'm hoping that the new owner, Ishikawa, will drive the business internationally. I have left a significant opportunity, Samuel, with them. I bought an Irish inventory management system called Turbo Inventory in 2023, and we're starting to make. We were before I sold inroads into the international market. So we had customers in South Africa, Italy, and the UK before I left, and I left them with a significant opportunity in the UK, which I do hope will come to fruition, and it will see that compete against some of the other inventory management solutions that are out there, because our product is very highly featured and very inexpensively priced. So it'll help, and it links with Xero, Sage, QuickBooks, all the big incumbents. So it's a very easy. It's an easier way to internationalize Bigger Cloud through an add-on and partnering with partners of the big software firms.
I love that. I love that. Um, you mentioned just now, no, actually, um, are you able to disclose how much you sold Big Red Cloud for?
Samuel, I'm not. It's written into the share purchase agreement. Neither party wanted that disclosed, but I got the number that I wanted. It did nearly fall apart, by
Good
the
to
way.
hear it.
It did nearly fall apart in February. They were trying to chip away at the price. So your listeners who are thinking of selling, when you agree a price, um, there's two sides to every transaction. You want to try and get more than that price if you can, and they want to chip away at the price. And it got to the stage where they were chipping away in February, and I said, I'm not selling for that price. So they came out, they eyeballed me, and I said, I'm pulling out of this deal if you don't give me the price I wanted. And the difference between needing to sell and wanting to sell gave me the confidence to make that decision, because I didn't need to sell. I just wanted to sell. And they saw that in my eyes and they backed off, and I got the price I needed.
I love that. Were you willing to stay on, or were you actively looking to sell?
No, my ideal scenario was not to stay on, because it's very difficult to work for somebody else, Samuel, when you've been your own boss for 33 years. However, if they did want me to stay on, I would have taken that into consideration. I am available for 2 hours a day for 4 weeks. So I had a phone call with the new CEO this morning. He was picking my brain over something. So I'm still available because I want to make sure that my legacy continues after I'm in the business. I want them to be successful. It's very important for me to see that be a success.
Beyond, just a few more questions to ask. As I said to you, if it's lagging, just bear with me because there is a lot of lag on here. So you said you've gotten what you've wanted, but beyond money, what does success mean to you?
Making sure my family, my 4 daughters, are comfortable and have no financial worries or stresses in the future.
I love that. Do any of them work for you, or did they hold any? Well, not for you now, but for Big Red Cloud at the time, hold any senior positions or anything like that?
None of them held senior positions, but every one of them worked in the business, Samuel. Back when they were teenagers and they wouldn't get off their phones, but they wouldn't talk to anybody on the phone, that they were literally just texting. I actually made them sit in reception when the receptionist went on holidays, so they had to actually answer the phone. 2 of them both did one did their masters out of my business. So she did a master's in digital marketing. So she worked there for the whole year. She was doing her master's with UCD Smurfit. The other girl did her internship there. And one of the girls, her voice is still the voiceover on the Big Red Book training videos. And the other girls have worked in marketing for me, promotions. We sponsored the Pro 14 rugby referees for 2 seasons. So one of the girls is very involved in that. When we do golf outings, one of the girls was out giving out the goodie bags at the golf outings. So yes, they've all been involved in the business. It's fed them, it's educated them, and it's given them jobs.
That's fantastic. That is success. That is legacy. Then I love that. So, uh, what would you advise your 30-year-old self? If you could do this again, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 30-year-old self?
I would have gone into business earlier. I didn't start till I was 27, but I should have had enough confidence in myself to start business earlier, and also have enough budget. I started with too little, Samuel. I had £2,500 what I started the business with, which was not enough. So do proper budgets, proper forecasts, and be properly funded.
I love that. Excellent. So, Mark, I just want to appreciate you once more for being on our podcast. You've been a fantastic guest. Really, really want to appreciate you for taking our time. Thank you as well for sharing your wisdom, your wealth of wisdom in startups, in acquisitions, in funding, in negotiations. You mentioned being at the negotiation table, they tried to lower the figure, but knowing the Mark, we know you weren't gonna have that. So once more, just want to really, really appreciate you for your time today. To our audience, please check out this episode. Mark has shared a wealth of wisdom. Also, make sure you do like and subscribe this podcast. It can be found on Apple, Spotify, and even YouTube. On YouTube, both the video and the audio will be up on YouTube. So it's going to be for marvelous reading. Do ensure that you do share this content as well. And until next time, we look forward to seeing you. Take care.
Thank you.